Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to this important real estate message. My name is Eden, a real estate agent with REMAX Premier, and I have the best manager in the world, Mary Difelice, right here to explain to us the new real estate code guide. As of December 1st, RECO has a brand new rule on how to operate, how we service the public. Is continuously working on how we service the public the best. So we have questions, and Mary, go ahead, please explain, who you are, our office, where we're located, and then I'll ask you the first question I have.
Perfect. So as Eden says, it's a pleasure to be here this afternoon. My name is Mary Difelice. I have been in real estate for a very long time. I don't know if I want to mention that, how long, but it's been about 43 years, so probably a lot older than some of the people that we were working with, but that's okay. I made a commitment when I got in real estate that I wanted to, I looked at what I might have that I could bring to the real estate world, and I decided that it was going to be as knowledgeable as I could be about the business, and to always challenge it, question it, understand it. And after 43 years, I have to tell you, I still love the business. I love everything about it. There's so much opportunity for everyone. And I hope that my role, as Eden said, as a manager, is to help and guide our reps through, some of the ups and downs in real estate. So
well, that's great, Mary. I'm probably the second oldest, 33 years in the business.
Okay.
So I must say, again, in our industry, I've been to about 3 or 4 offices. I just not saying this because you're here. I honestly believe Mary is the best manager anyone could have. She is available. I don't want you to bug her, but 24 hours. It didn't matter how long you've been in the business. It's so funny how many questions are brand new every time. So I get to brainstorm with her. She's just there to support with text, email. She writes excellent email. As a matter of fact, I was speaking with a gentleman last week that told me at a time real estate was established, everybody did not have their first degree, second degree. Mary was the only one who had a graduate of university and who was able to do. And he did say the best thing that Gabe did was have Mary as a manager. So I just want to say we're so grateful to have you, Mary. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure working with all our reps at our company, REMAX Premier. I have a deep respect and admiration for our broker, Gabriel Bianchi. He is committed to the business, and as I said, it's a pleasure to work with everyone.
Yes, great owner, broker, Gabe as well. So great, yeah, just a great company to work for. So let's go to question number 1. So Mary, tell us, RECO, the big board regulation of the real estate industry has come up with brand new rules as compared to what we had before. And that just happened to be on as of December 1st, 2023. So right now
Yes.
we're with the new rules. So the question is, what is the major difference between the new and the old?
TRESA, the Trust and Real Estate Services Act, came into effect December 1st, 2023. And all realtors across the province are bound by it. The change before that was the Real Estate and Business Brokers Act 2002. So it was 21 years in the making. So there was the original act when the government decided that the public had to be protected. Then there were no changes for many decades until 2002. And now in 2023, there is a new act. Everything has changed and nothing has changed. The important thing is it's about consumer protection. And as long as we abide by the rules and regulations, then we're fine. If anyone in the industry takes the time to understand the rules, to read them and understand them, they are very, very good rules. And they really do have everything covered. The thing is that the Real Estate and Business Brokers Act 2002 20 years later, people still did not get it. So it needed to be updated. So what it's all about is informing the public about how they can be represented. And sometimes we have to protect the public from themselves. Sometimes the public makes decisions that they think are in their best advantage, but they really are not. Anyone navigating the real estate world needs to have a committed real estate representative working for them. And the only way that can be done is by full disclosure of the services that are going to be offered, and of course, a written representation agreement. The public should not shy away from that because it's important to have a commitment in writing. And I think that a lot of reps have unfortunately given another message or probably not understood it well enough. And as a consequence, the consumer suffers because of that. So
just to break down this, the first thing that we're supposed to do with the new RECO guide, right, is to actually explain to them a relationship between a real estate agent and them, the consumers, right?
Right. So that's one of the biggest changes that's happened, that as of December 1st, 2023, even if you've been working with a client for 20 years, 10 years, 10 days, 10 weeks, you must send out an information guide so that the client will know, I shouldn't say the client, the consumer will know exactly what choices there are available. So that comes from RECO. So as long as the consumer understands what options are available to them, they would sign an acknowledgement saying, hey, I understand that these are the ways that I can be represented. Would you like me to outline those, or?
Yes. So I guess, again, if you don't mind, explain RECO, how we're governed by RECO as real estate industry, and then what is it that they exactly want us to do the minute somebody raised their hand and said, I want to buy, I want to sell a house, or they call us about a house for sale. What is the procedure that we're supposed to follow?
So as you said, Eden, the Real Estate Council, RECO is the short form for the Real Estate Council of Ontario. It holds everyone's registrations, the reps who are registered with RECO. It's across the province of Ontario, and they regulate real estate activity. Their main objective is consumer protection. And as I said, they regulate if something goes wrong in the industry. They're the ones that will take a look at this situation and have panels available to evaluate what went wrong. So,
Right.
So as of December 1st, 2023, RECO has developed an information guide for all consumers of real estate. That means buyers or sellers. And we need to have it sent out. Actually gets sent out by RECO and then explained to the consumer and signed as an acknowledgement that they have seen and they understand the options available to them.
So normally, let's throw an example. Somebody called me about a house that I have for sale, right? And they say they want to see the house. So how do you recommend we go about just explaining to this person what we're supposed to do with them?
So clients can only be, that's old terminology. Consumers can only be represented in one of two ways, either under representation with a real estate representative or self-represented. As I said, self-represented is a very, very rocky road, and it's not really the best for clients. I think there would be, for consumers, I think it would be very few people who are able to navigate the full real estate experience trying to do it self-represented. So the consumer guide explains all of that, and we get that signed. So if someone calls you, Eden, and says, I want to see your property, you are allowed, or any rep is allowed, to show that property to a potential buyer if it is a service that's helpful to your seller. If it's a service helpful to your seller, you can show that property. You have to be very careful, of course, what you say, because you have no relationship with them and you're only looking at the best interest of your seller at that point. If they express an interest in going forward, that's when you would send out the information guide. That's when you would, if they're interested in buying your property, multiple representation does exist. And that means that one rep can represent a buyer and a seller on the same transaction, but full disclosure of what services are offered. And then there are multiple forms that have been created with TRESA where you get consent for multiple representation from each of the parties. So.
Yeah, just a perfect example. I had a gentleman call me on the condo listing that I do have, and pretty much because it was a service to my seller, I was almost setting up an appointment to show them the condo. But then he started going, so tell me, what do you think they will take for the condo, right? So, again, I had to explain to him, I have to email you the RECO guide because the sellers are my client, right? And if you decide to work with me, price is something I'll never discuss with you or my seller, but I will do the proper research for me to email it to you what prices are selling for in the area. But you're the one that will make the decision on the price. So you need to make a decision before
absolutely
that.
Correct. Absolutely, you're absolutely correct. What you did was the right way of doing it. As I said, you are able to show the property without the information guide, but the minute they start questioning price, then that's when you have to put on the brakes, send out the information guide, and then go from there. And there are certain things that we're not able to discuss, and price is one of them. Motivation, sellers or buyers' motivation is another one. So you did right on that way. Unfortunately, that consumer sounds like someone who is used to the old way of doing it. And our job is not only to educate, I guess, sales reps, but also educate the public, because a lot of consumers, as I said, do not operate in their own best interest, because they don't know that they're not doing that. So you did the right thing.
Okay, very good, very good. And everybody, you can prepare your questions. But another thing that we were told with the new guide is we need to let the sellers and the buyers know exactly what we bring to the table, which I think is, I'm so glad they asked, because most public there's a lot of misinformation where most people feel agents don't do anything. I mean, I'm talking about the right skilled real estate agent, right? So for me, I know I have 48 points of what I would do for the home seller. And I did explain to them before even this guide comes. But now that we have this guide, do we attach a Schedule C for all the services that we will?
It would be a schedule to the listing agreement and a schedule to the buyer representation agreement. So that's where the schedule is added, and where you outline the services that you will be offering the person that you serve. So it's very important that you outline what those are. And you said something that triggered a very important thought, Eden. A real estate rep can make or break a person's real estate future. If you get a good real estate representative who does the research, understands the objectives, because it's all about the consumer's objectives, and the paperwork follows, like you said, providing information so people can make correct decisions. But it's all about how committed a real estate representative is to the people that they're working with.
Exactly. Just to give you an example, yesterday I was speaking with a CIBC mortgage specialist who told me that was a pre-construction. There was a gentleman that put an offer for a pre-construction. When the bank appraiser went to appraise that property, it was appraised for $250,000 less than what it was worth. So the good thing is there was a cooling period, so the person was able to kind of walk away. But the fact is, one of the biggest job a real estate agent has is to do a proper market value for the consumer, and the person that even knows they know it all. That's the biggest part they don't see we bring to the table. I mean, so talking about the amount of work that we bring to the table. Like they have a round call to us, like, 24 hours for the time period that we're servicing them. We have a buyer that we have been showing house for over a year. The 3 offers did not go through. So really stating every little piece of what we do to the consumer, I think consumer would understand the value we bring to the table. So that's the part that I really like about the new rules, actually. So anything else you want to add, or
Well,
anybody else that has a question, please go ahead.
and that's what the Trust in Real Estate Services is all about, is documenting decisions, documenting courses of action, documenting services that are going to be offered, rather than a very loose kind of arrangement where people don't understand. And there is a misconception that real estate reps don't do anything. But if you really evaluate all the situations that we come across, whether it's residential, whether it's commercial real estate, whether it's leasing properties, there's a lot at play. And, market conditions change. It's not easy to navigate those situations. So if you have someone who really needs to have a real estate service taken care of, the commitment is very important. So.
Very good. Very good. So no one have a question for Mary in regards to the new rules right now? If you did,
I do.
Please go ahead, Mina.
Hi, Mary.
Hi, Mina.
I'm
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Just wondering, we've been working with clients that say before December 1st, and we've been working with them. Then all of a sudden, there's this new guide. So I have a client that she's about to put in an offer, and before she did, I explained the guide and I explained that there's a little bit of changes. I feel that there's a little bit of pushback. Are we able to use that implied representation argument? I'm just wondering, at what point is RECO going to say they can't all be implied? We have to kind of get people to sign on. So I'm just wondering, like, how do we approach that with clients that I've had one client for 3 years, and we're now finally ready to put an offer in, and she's already frustrated with all the paperwork, and this is even adding.
Yes, and there is a lot of paperwork. There's a lot more than there ever has been. I find that sometimes real estate reps are the ones who put up the resistance to people signing. Sometimes it's the way real estate reps saying it's probably not important. I don't know why I have to do this, but I have to do this. But the first thing is it is change for everyone. So every real estate rep across the province should be acting in the same way. And implied representation, you can do that, but it is a very limited situation, because there are pitfalls, for you as a rep first and foremost, but also for the clients. Sometimes before we show a property, as Eden said, the first question is, are you under contract with another rep? Are you working with another rep? We're not doing that. I find that consumers are bothered by that. But the thing is, we want to protect that consumer from possibly being sued. We don't want those situations. So that's why everything has to be clear. So if you just explain it now, if you present the guide, the information guide, to the consumer and they don't want to sign, that's their choice. But the important thing is that you have proof that you did present it to them and that you have explained it to them. So there could be a little bit of pushback from the odd client, but have you ever been in a store and you've got a very limited time frame and you need to buy something and you've got the object and your money in hand and nobody's willing to take that, or you can't find anyone to cash you out? That's very frustrating. So the client who really wants to, the consumer who really wants to do something or buy a house or sell a house won't have a problem signing if they're explained all the information. So, RECO will look at every situation on a case by case. But if you do implied, it is possible, but there are pitfalls for both the consumer and for the rep.
So I have a question in regards to what just Mina asked. So you send them the information guide and they decide not to sign it. They still want to work with you, but they are a little bit taken aback. They say, we want to work with you, we will buy with you, but I'm just not ready to sign. In that case, can we still continue to work with them, provided we've sent them everything in an email, we've explained it to them?
According to RECO, no. So consumers have to get used to that. So the information guide, I don't see why people would have pushback. And especially if you're sitting with them either on a phone call, in person, face to face, on a Zoom, where you're saying, look, this is what the guide says. You can choose to be a buyer represented as a buyer representative, a seller representative, or be self-represented. These are the pitfalls. RECO does a wonderful job explaining all of those situations. Where you need to be concerned is if you are going to be showing properties and they don't want to sign say a buyer representation agreement, then RECO says you have to put on the brakes. You have to stop that transaction, because they're either represented by you as a real estate rep, or they're self-represented. They have the choice, or they could go to another agent of their choice. And buyer representation agreements can be only for one property. It doesn't have to be. It can be for one day. It could be for 1 week. It could be that you as a real estate rep, and I think that Mina had alluded to that too, it could be that you might not want to work with everybody that comes across your path. You have to see how serious they are, if they have the money. So you as a rep have a role in all of this too, but it's important that all representatives across the province act in a responsible manner and understand how important this stuff is. So it's going to be up to us to explain, and I think the consumer would be very happy. Unfortunately, like Mina said, she's got someone that she's been working with for 3 years. And as I had said at the beginning, it could be 3 years, it could be 30 years. You have to, we've never done it before, we've never had to do it before, but now we would need to get that information guide. If I were to sell a house to one of my sisters, I don't have a choice. I have to get the information guide signed by them.
Awesome, thank you.
Great, very good. So again, or have a proof if they don't sign it that you already provided that for them. And just the way I look at it is, most knowledgeable or reasonable people would understand we need a guidance. We are the people to look up to. So the way I look at it, if somebody does not trust me enough even to sign what I explained and read to, I think I need to give them time and work with somebody else that understands the concept, right? For us to work with. There's a lot out there. There's a lot of genuine people that we could help. So we are going to do that, but definitely I think this guide is a good thing for all of us, especially for agents that never used to have a buyer agency agreement. Now they need to, follow the rules. So hopefully that will make, again, our industry a lot better and a great benefit to the consumer when it's all said and done.
Correct. And Eden, sure, go ahead. Let me just give one thought before we do that. Eden, you're absolutely correct. If everybody operates in the same manner and everybody does what they're supposed to do, then it's fine. If the consumer, and believe me, there are so many consumers who are screaming quietly, internally, help me navigate this real estate experience, whether selling or buying. They need help, and they need to have a knowledgeable real estate rep. And a knowledgeable real estate isn't one who's going to say, well, it's okay if you don't sign. Those are the people who are going to be called out by RECO. As long as we're following the steps that we have to take by providing the information, understanding the information, and explaining it to them, then it would be a much better situation. So go ahead, Mina, please.
Is it fair to say that the RECO information guide is exactly that? It's just information, or no?
No, I'm totally agreeing with you. It is just information. It's not a commitment that they're going to work with you. As a fact, as after they read it, they may decide not to work with you, or they may decide to be self-represented. But if they are afraid or non-committal because of the paperwork, well, the next person they go to had better explain the very same thing that you had explained, because that's what the Trusted Real Estate Services Act requires us to do.
So basically, after this information, they have to choose one way or the other.
Yes, and so the thing that's changed is, Bandana, if someone calls you and like Eden had said, you end up doing a service to your seller by showing that condo to them. The next step would be, well, if they like it, then you need to get other forms. If they don't like it, the next step is, I do have other properties that may be of interest to you, but I cannot show them to you unless we're in a relationship into a buyer represented situation. Otherwise, they're self-represented, and RECO says you cannot work with them. Too many people in the past were playing chess with clients, treating them as customers when they really weren't. So we have to understand it and we have to explain it. But hopefully, it's a clean slate as of December 1st for every rep across the province.
Excellent.
No,
Thank you,
that's really, really great. And for me, just for them to make a decision. And the other question is the self-representative party. I mean, that is a new thing that just happened. So could you, Mary, please explain what do we mean when somebody's representing themselves? What is it they're risking by not having an agent represent them?
So I'm going to use the condo example that you had provided. Self-represented did exist in the past too, but it was just it was slightly different. There's more power to it right now. But in your example where someone calls you to see the condo and you show it to them, they're interested, you provide the information guide and they decide that they want to go that alone, you will still be representing the seller. You will still take their offer, but you can't guide them, as you said, on price. You can't even provide the statistics so much to them on price, because you would in a normal course of action if it's, again, a service to your seller, but who's to say that those figures are slanted either way? You can't recommend clauses. If you're working with a buyer who's under contract with you, you're going to suggest that you have to have a condition on financing, you have to have this in the offer. But with a self-represented party, you cannot advise them to any of this, because that's working against the interest of who your client is, and that's a person who signed up with you under a listing agreement. So
as a matter of fact, I have to use my knowledge, skill, and experience. I have to benefit my seller in that case, don't
exactly.
I? Exactly.
You can't use it.
Yeah,
you can't use it. And that doesn't mean, that buyer will go to a lawyer to prepare their offer and they'll submit it to you, and you can still present it to your seller and work to get the deal for them. But you're committed to representing your client, and your client is the person who has signed up with you.
Yeah. And I like to think, preparing an offer with the lawyer is, one service, but lawyers never know houses. They never know areas. They don't know any disclosures that needs to be done. By the way, we cannot, for example, if there was a problem with the basement and we're aware of that, are we supposed to let this self-representative person know?
Well, we have a duty to disclose that to everyone. So anybody who might be interested in that property, they would have to know that. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's
but nothing about the neighborhood or the building, whatever. It's just, this is their job to do everything.
That's their job.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, if you have them under contract as a buyer representative for that person, then you can provide all the information. You can, as long as you're fair and honest to both parties, but you'll never give away how much the seller will take or how much the buyer will pay. That you can never do, and you can never give motivation. Sellers going through a divorce. We've never been allowed to really give out that information. So.
Yeah. So another beautiful thing that happened, I guess, with the new rules and regulation, Mary, is within an office, we are here a team. For example, if Bandana was working with my client buyer, and I happen to have the listing, right? I could transfer the client relationship to Bandana, where Bandana could represent them, do the market value, research, work for them, and I could work for my seller.
Correct.
It's not multi-representation like it used to be before.
It is a form of multiple representation that's allowed under the designated rep. So you would be the designated representative for your seller, and that will be noted on your contract. And say if Bandana works with a buyer for the property, under her buyer representative agreement, she would be the designated rep. And yes, then she can provide advice, information, stats, because she is the designated representative of that buyer. She's not bound by your listing agreement.
But if that buyer happened to have a contract with me before, I have a buyer agency agreement with that buyer, but now I just didn't want the conflict. So I wanted Bandana to take care of that client. So therefore we have to do a transfer of buyer representation agreement to her. Is that what
I would just amend the buyer representative agreement to have a designated rep, and the designated rep would be whomever you decide.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Good. So unless there's any other question, we're gonna finish here. So we're gonna have, a link, and you can reply back to us. Any question you have, like as I say, she is a huge real estate guide library, Mary. Thank you so much for answering all our questions. And moving forward, again, we'll comment, like, share, and also continue asking questions. And she's another person getting back to you. It's like, she gets back to you as quickly as possible. So thank you so much, Mary. Thank you so much, everybody.
It's a pleasure. Thank you. Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you.
Bye-bye.